Hello everyone, welcome back again to my YouTube channel. This is Elias Juma, and in today's tutorial I'm going to take you through plagiarism. What plagiarism basically is. You may sometimes wonder of what this term plagiarism means. Therefore, I got you covered. In this tutorial, I am going to go into details and show you really what this plagiarism is and where it's being used and how it is not it is unethical to be used by a researcher, and therefore this plagiarism is part of the information literacy course that I have been going through in my previous videos. Therefore, if you haven't gone through the videos, you can go and watch the videos. You can as well as subscribe to my YouTube channel, click on the notification bell such that you can be able to be updated with videos like this. Therefore, in this tutorial, I'm going to go through the outline on plagiarism, and we're going to learn about the definition, what this plagiarism really stands for. We're going to look at the common types of plagiarism, of which we have, I think, four of them, four types of plagiarism. We're going to look at the examples of this plagiarism. I'm going also to show you how you can avoid plagiarism because it is not a good practice. Therefore, let us go to the definition of what plagiarism is, and therefore plagiarism is intentional or negligent use by phrase or direct quotation of the published or unpublished work of another person without full and clear acknowledgement, in such a way that in all such scholarly works or essays, it can include examinations, can include oral or written reports, can be homework assignments, can be laboratory reports, can be graphic descriptions, and whatsoever. There are so many, in fact. Therefore, if you use it intentionally and you don't cite the author, you don't appreciate the source of the information, therefore you are doing plagiarism. Now let us look at these common types of plagiarism, and basically we're going to look at four of them. And one is direct plagiarism. We have the direct plagiarism, we have the self plagiarism, and we have something called mosaic plagiarism, and lastly accidental plagiarism. Quickly, let us go and look about what this direct plagiarism is. Therefore, we want to explain the types or common types of plagiarism, and we're going to start with the first one, which is a direct plagiarism. Therefore, a direct plagiarism is a word-for-word transcription of a section of someone's work without quotation marks or without attribution. Like you don't attribute the author, like the deliberate plagiarism of someone's work is. Therefore, the deliberate plagiarism of someone's work, if you don't appreciate, if you don't put quotation marks, if you like take word for word transcription of that person's work, but you don't acknowledge that author, therefore it is considered as unethical and academically dishonest. So this is what you want to know. It is very bad to do that, and therefore in all disciplines, okay, it accounts for all disciplinary actions, including even sometimes expulsion from the institution. That's why some institutions, if they look into it that you plagiarize a coursework, or else, let me say, if you plagiarize mostly a research work, like a report or whatever, they will not consider it, and they will not take your what your report. Therefore, let us look at self-plagiarism. What is self-plagiarism is, therefore, basically when a student submits his or her previous work, you might even do it in another institution, you might do it in the institution you are in, but when you use this aid, you resubmit it, and or else if even you mix some part of them, you remove some part and added some part, but if you don't ask permission, that is why I say without permission from professors involved, therefore you're doing what is called self plagiarism, and therefore it's unethical and it's an academic dishonesty. Therefore, let us look at mosaic plagiarism. Therefore, this occurs when a student borrows phrases from a source without using quotation marks, synonyms from the author's language, and therefore you you don't appreciate the work of the author, whether you intended it or you not intended it. It is like whether using author's phrases without like intentionally or unintentionally. In fact, it is the academic dishonesty. That is why it is necessary to cite the source where to get the information from, acknowledge the work of the and therefore you may be able not to practice plagiarism. But if you don't, and then you are practicing plagiarism. Now let us look at accidental plagiarism. This occurs when a person neglects to cite the sources of information that you got the information from, or when the person misquotes their source of information. So that one is called accidental plagiarism. It can be or else unintentionally you phrase a source using similar words, groups of words or sentences without attribution. Therefore, it comes out to be accidental plagiarism. And therefore, let us basically look at the examples of plagiarism. And I'm going to show you some of the examples of plagiarism. Like for direct plagiarism, this is how it is. Like this is the source of the information. Like in ages which have no record, these islands were the home of millions of happy birds. Therefore, and you may use a direct word for word translation in such a way that you just add long ago when there was no written history. Then therefore these words comes in such a way that these islands were the home of millions of happy birds, which is the same as this, and therefore the phrase continues with the same. Even you can see in the ending, like and like British farmer and a store quite another sort for an immaculate Republican government. British farmer and a store of quite another sort for an immaculate Republican government. So that is word for word transcription. So that one stands out to be what? To be a direct plagiarism. And then for mosaic plagiarism, if you can read these text, you can pause the video and read these text. You can as well read these texts, and therefore you'll get to know, based on my previous explanation, you'll get to know that this is mosaic plagiarism. There are very many examples of these plagiarisms, of which I am not going to talk much about them. So let us continue. In what I was talking about the examples of plagiarism. So basically, those are examples of plagiarism, and therefore, let us go and look at how we are going to avoid this plagiarism, since it is unnecessary, like it is an academic dishonesty. So avoiding plagiarism involves ensuring all ideas or works and that are not your own, like you will properly cite them to the original authors, or you accredit the original authors. Therefore, here are key points that you can be able to avoid this plagiarism, and one of them is understanding what constitutes plagiarism. Therefore, what constitutes direct plagiarism, like the direct copying of one's work, word for word, what constitutes self-plagiarism, what constitutes mosaic, and what constitutes accidental plagiarism. You need to understand what constitutes them and work accordingly such that you are not a victim of such. And therefore, we also need to use proper citations. You can use in-text citations, like you can use when you refer to an idea, you can use the APA format, you can use the Chicago style and the MLA format, depending on the course of your discipline. Like my institution here, we use this APA format, and therefore, if your institution uses Chicago style, then you need to go by that discipline. And therefore, you also need to know the quotation such that you use quotation marks when directly quoting someone's work and include the source of the information to avoid plagiarism. Therefore, let us also look at paraphrasing correctly as another way of avoiding plagiarism. Now, when you're paraphrasing, you ensure that you fully understand the source and the material where the information is being got, or where you reflect the information from. Now, without copying the original content or phrasing. Now, after paraphrasing, you need to cite the source of the information to give proper credit. That is why I say here paraphrase correctly, and in that way you are avoiding plagiarism and you are not victimized of that you plagiarized. Let us look at the fourth way of how you can avoid plagiarism is when you manage sources carefully. Managing sources carefully is by keeping track of sources as you search or you organize your source in reference manager. You can use Zotero, you can use EndNote, or you can use Mendeley. This to ensure you don't lose track of where specific ideas or quotes come from. You can as well separate your ideas from those of others in such a way that you can distinguish your ideas that you generated by yourself. You can distinguish ideas which are from a published work. Therefore, in doing such, you are avoiding what is called a plagiarism. Therefore, let us look at you can use plagiarism detector tools for you not to be a victim of plagiarism. Basically, you can use softwares like Tulip, Grammarly, or other plagiarism checkers. Therefore, those ones ensure that your work is free of unintentional plagiarism. Because you may sometimes do your coursework, do your research work, but you might be plagiarizing, but you don't know. Therefore, those softwares helps you to avoid unintentional plagiarism. So also for common knowledge, you need not to cite common knowledge. You do not need to cite those common knowledge, especially facts which are widely known and agreed upon. Let me say historical dates, scientific researches, farmers' quotes. Whenever in doubt, you can cite them. But when you're not in doubt, you need not to cite them. Those are common knowledges. So and basically you need to understand academic integrity policies in such a way that different institutions and journals they have different they may have varying guidelines on plagiarism. So you need to always be familiar with the guideline of your institutions about plagiarism. In that way, you will move systematically in your research work without victimized of what? Of being plagiarism. Therefore, by following these practices, you can write responsibly without avoiding unintentional plagiarism. And therefore, thanks for watching and always be notified that plagiarism is unnecessary, is unethical, and it is criminal. So, for you to avoid plagiarism, use it appropriately and know the ways of how you can avoid plagiarism. Thanks for watching. See you in my next video.